Welcome back to the Nerdrotic Podcast. My name is Gary Buechler. Excuse me. I come to you from nerdrotic.com, and I am live in San Francisco, fresh back from Justice League, and down in San Diego, my co-host, who I assume is fresh back from Justice League as well, Dennis Bithoulkas. What is up?
Yes, I'm about an hour back from Justice League, so not too bad.
We both saw
half an hour
show.
Half an hour of freaking trailers. I was kind of surprised that
was crazy. And then I was fully expecting an Infinity War just so Marvel could stick it to him.
Yeah.
We didn't get it. That's too bad. But they are dropping the Punisher in what, 2-3 hours here.
Yeah.
So that's their way of sticking it to him. So I put in the description here. Okay, for one, we don't usually do movies here anymore. This is a TV recap page, and we'll explain that a little later. But for the big superhero stuff, we like to review it. This is our first live one God in a couple years. So, but I kind of felt excited enough to do this one live, get the visceral reaction, and let's get into it. So the first 10 minutes of this review are going to be spoiler free, and then I'll kind of keep an eye on the clock, and then when we hit 10 minutes, I'm going to give you a warning, and then we're going to get the full on spoiler territory. So I will give you that warning if you don't want the movie to be spoiled at any point. But let's start out with your thoughts. Generally, Dennis, how'd you like it?
It was actually pretty good. It was a lot better than I was expecting. It gave me hope for them. They lightened the tone quite a bit, and it still had its problems here and there, but it wasn't anywhere near as bad as the previous incarnations of movies that had come out from them.
Agreed. Wow, this is a shocker that you and I agree on this, because we have pretty much been bagging on this movie for about a year.
Yeah.
But with good reason. It's nothing short of a miracle that this movie has come out and been somewhat decent. What sucks about this is it's gonna reaffirm the WB executives that their way was the way that made this good, and I totally disagree with that. I still think this could have been a better movie.
Oh yeah,
if it was delayed. It should have been delayed.
Mm-hmm.
Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide. That would have been the classy thing to do, but as the curtain gets drawn back on Hollywood more and more, we see it's no surprise what Hollywood is actually about. Okay. And, that's my feelings on that. A man's daughter committed suicide. I think they should have shut the whole damn thing down, given the man some time, let him finish his work if he wanted to. Maybe it was Zack's decision. I don't know. But it's hard to make a decision like that when a child dies. And I'm sorry to start this so dark. I enjoyed this movie, and partially because I took my son Logan. It was a double feature date day with my wife, which we never get. So we started the day. We saw Murder on the Orient Express, which I actually liked.
Nice.
A little more melancholy than I thought it would be, but I've never read Agatha Christie, and Kenneth Branagh was the man, and it was a good movie. But I was watching my son just enjoy, he was asking me questions. He was fired up. He was pumping a fist, and my son's 12. My youngest son, and this is who it's made for. So
that's what they're supposed to be made for, honestly.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. These are comic book movies. They're based on comic books that are supposed to be for children. Yes, a lot of comics have adult themes now, things like that. But most of these movies are supposed to be geared towards kids, really. Yeah, sure, adults, for nostalgia and all that kind of stuff too, but mainly for kids. And that's what it was missing. It was missing that joy from Man of Steel, from Batman versus Superman. And this had a little bit of it and not a lot of it, but it had a lot more than the previous incarnations did.
Yeah, this really played out to me, and I do not mean this as an insult at all, like a Justice League Unlimited cartoon. That's the way it played out for me. It was written to that level. And again, that's not a bad thing. That's what this is supposed to be. I know we've gone through the evolution of superhero films, and I know what the Rotten Tomatoes score is, and I really don't care. And I know a bunch of people might have, some of the reviews I've seen are actually pretty good, and I don't care what other people think. This was a fun movie. They treated Superman with respect. You could tell they reached every Superman scene was reshot.
Yeah.
And you can tell because all you had to do was look at his lip.
Yep.
And you can see the
digital.
Yeah, and I'll get into that later. I'll get into that later.
Yeah, the CGI is fairly dodgy. That's the only thing my biggest misgiving about this movie is the CGI. If anything, they should have, like you were saying, held back a little bit more just to work on that alone. And because it looked very video game-ish in a lot of places.
Yeah. And some might question, I just mentioned Superman. That was no secret. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't. There's not a lot to spoil plot-wise, because plot-wise, it wasn't super deep at all. It was just assembling a team as quickly as possible. But again, it played out like a really good cartoon, and it was entertaining. And wow, if they would have done this with the Suicide Squad, if they would have just simplified it and not focused so much on that third act and just focused more on the characters and getting the characters together, that movie probably would have been better. Done what they did with this movie. It looks like there's a good hour on the cutting room floor. And I mentioned in Facebook, I definitely want to see Zack Snyder's version. I really want to see the 3-hour version of this, just out of pure curiosity. But it was a fun movie. Was it worth the $60 I paid to go see it tonight at the Cinemark 20 in Daly City? And the reason I'm pointing you out right now is because I paid $60. I knew what I was getting into. I sat in the Barca Loungers, but you run out of coffee. Really? Come on. I paid $60. Don't run out of coffee. That's the biggest complaint I had about the movie, because I was freaking tired.
See, I have my movie pass, so I pay $9.95 a month. I can see any movies, as many movies as I want, as long as it's one a day.
Yep, that's a good thing. But Mel and I can't roll up in a movie an hour early. We need to have our assigned seating. Yes,
you can do that too. They do e-tickets as well.
Yeah, no, dude, Movie Pass is a great. I can't believe more people aren't doing it. To be honest with you, it's a great deal. Yeah, it was a fun movie. My favorite parts, without spoiling anything, or favorite, well, I'll go with characters. I dug Batman. I really dug Batman. I dug Superman. Wonder Woman was pretty good. Flash was not nearly as annoying as I thought he would be. I still hate that costume. It's pretty awful.
Yeah, the costume's horrible.
And I liked Aquaman too. I like dude bro Aquaman. It kind of worked.
Well, it's because he wasn't in it that much. They toned. I think that was part of the editing, was kind of editing down his dude bro-ishness in there, if that's a word.
Yeah, it was played just right. It was, it could have been a lot of that stuff could have been too much. It could have been way too much.
Cyborg was the one that I didn't really enjoy. It was a little too brooding for Cyborg for me.
Yeah, you and I are both used to, and there's the Cyborg. He plays more like the Cyborg in the Marv Wolfman, George Perez Teen Titan comics, who's a little more subdued. Not that subdued though. He's really subdued. But I liken it to this because I bet you they're gonna especially if they're gonna do a movie centered around him, he's gonna have to have more personality.
Yeah.
I think what got kind of lost in the shuffle in this movie is he's dealing with being Cyborg. So I equate it to a kid going through puberty and dealing with his deep voice. And a lot of times boys start getting really quiet around 12 years old because they're getting this deep voice and it sounds like louder inside, and they start mumbling a lot. And I kind of see he's going through these crazy changes. He doesn't even know what's happening to him. All this information is going to his brain. So I don't think he would be all booyah at first either. So
yeah, no, I wasn't expecting, I wasn't expecting the Teen Titans cartoon, version of Cyborg. But yeah, he was just kind of, and then also Let's talk about, we always say this, you're only as good as your villain.
Yep.
Horrible villain.
Terrible villain.
Horrible villain.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it
And
was right up there with
Enchantress.
Enchantress. Yeah, it really was. But it didn't drag it down like Enchantress dragged down Suicide Squad. Like she
Yeah.
dragged that movie down into the gutter. Uh, this was just a means to an end villain, really.
Oh, yeah. It's to invoke a name to bring about a new age, if you will.
Yeah, a new age with some new characters. When we get into the spoiler territory in about 5 more minutes, we'll talk about that. There was a lot of DC world building in this, quite a bit. That was actually pretty damn cool. There's a
And a
little,
lot of little Easter eggs, verbal Easter eggs,
yeah,
harkening back to older DC properties, WB properties as well. So not too bad on that end.
and for me anyway, there's a post-credit scene, which we won't talk about what it is. There's
Mhm.
actually two
Mhm.
that are both pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Those really, actually, when the movie ended, there wasn't a ton of claps, but when the second credit scene ended, eruption. It was total eruption, and then on the last one, it was even more. So the crowd I was with in San Francisco, it's Daly City, but it's close enough. San Francisco, they're very tempered up here. They don't applaud for
Yeah.
much. So maybe Daly City does, but that's it's they like a different kind of movie in Daly City. We'll just say that.
Are
But
you talking about like Driving Miss Daisy?
No, I'm talking like maybe Fast and the Furious crowd.
Furious? Yeah,
They're more of a Fast
I
and the
know.
Furious crowd driving Miss Daisy. That'll be Fast and Furious 10. Driving Miss Vin Diesel driving Miss Daisy. Oh my God. But no, it was a fun movie. Again, there's not a lot of plot to dissect here. There's not
No.
like, oh, these mysteries and they set up this and there's this awesome DCEU. They were really smart about we're building a world and we're going to be really vague about it. And we're going to see
Yep.
where we can go with it. After
And
this, I want to talk about go on.
Oh, and they didn't throw a whole bunch of crap at the wall either, trying to see what sticks, kind of like what they did with Batman versus Superman, where they're just kind of throwing everything out there and saying, okay, we're just going to jam all these stories in and see what works. They didn't do that with this, which was good.
But they put a nice cherry on top at the end about like why the earlier movies were dark. Now this could be totally retconned, or maybe it was planned all along that we're going to start dark and go light. But it actually worked. There's a nice speech at the end, like explaining why things were so dark and what happened. And nobody was perfect here. Batman wasn't perfect. Wonder Woman wasn't perfect. Batman calls her out on something that was pretty legit, actually, that we will talk about in the spoiler area. I definitely like this movie. I'm still coming to terms with that because I had no idea. Maybe my expectations were super low. I have no idea. But if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you do. For one, you get to see the Justice League on screen, and that has to be part of it. Okay. Now, we could start our criticism of Warner Brothers right now. This is something that should have happened 20 years ago. It might not have been as good as a movie special effects wise or anything, but they own DC outright. They own these characters outright. They could have done this a long time ago. This is stuff we talked about in the comic shop I used to hang out in before I bought one. We would talk about like, why can't they do a Justice League movie? Why can't they get this stuff together? Warner Brothers still doesn't know what to do with these things. When it comes to Ben Affleck as Batman, I want him to stay as Batman as long as he, hopefully he can get his personal shit together a little bit. But
on that front, I finally heard who the rumored.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the spoiler territory. I think it would be a mistake to let him go. I think you just built some goodwill. I think this movie will have decent word of mouth. I think it will be kind of like a Transformers movie where it'll do well despite the criticism, and
Yeah.
maybe that's just what the DC movies are going to be. And quite honestly, it's still a new thing for a critic to like a superhero movie at all. It's pretty surprising. I think a lot of people jump on the Marvel bandwagon because it has been so good lately, and they just knocked it out of the park with Thor. We just watched Thor. I mean, like this month as nerds, we win. I mean, we got Stranger Things, we just got Thor, we're getting Punisher, we got Justice League. Yeah, yay us. And if you want to go deeper on that, Mr. Robot's probably the most amazing show on TV right now.
And I just heard Jason Momoa's show on Netflix is coming out next week. Frontier season 2.
Yes, my wife is a big fan of the Jason Momoa. She wanted to pass on that she really liked Aquaman.
I'm sure she liked
She did. Aquaman was her favorite. Okay. Yes. So okay, I think we're pretty much in. We can
spoilers from here on out.
Spoilers. So if you want to bail.
We'll give you a couple seconds. 5, 4,
here.
3, 2, 1. Okay, spoilers. So everyone dies at the end.
Yes.
Which I thought was kind of surprising and a ballsy move.
Very brave move, actually. That's a good way to restart your universe. And it turns out Steppenwolf was Steppenwolf all along. Okay.
Oh, nice. I didn't get that part.
Okay, yes.
I was wondering why he was carrying around that guitar.
Yes. Yeah. Really. They still look pretty good.
And why I kept saying, "Are you ready to rock Gotham?"
Yes.
I didn't understand that.
Did not know there were supervillains. Also, that was really a kind of a twist. Yeah. So the only spoiler thing were really the end credit scene and maybe how they brought. I was surprised how they brought Superman back, and that obviously was changed because there was set photos of him wearing a black costume.
Yeah.
And none of that happens. None of that happens.
Because they bring him. It was very convoluted, I think, is what it was. That whole, the death of Superman. I think they used the whole comic death of Superman thing, and it was just getting a little too convoluted, which is probably that extra hour that Zack Snyder had in the movie. And I'm sure that's what Joss Whedon, when he came in for, and he was just like, okay, we're cutting this part out. We're going to use the ship, and we're going to use the mother box, and boom, we're done.
Yeah, that's it. And all that stuff was reshot. It looks like about 20 or 30%, which was the initial rumor out there, was reshot. I don't know for sure, but every Superman scene was reshot. And I really loved that very beginning scene where it's just a kid interviewing Superman with his cell phone. I was really hoping he'd get to finish that sentence, though. He doesn't at the,
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, they did a good job. And, well,
the kid asked him a question. The kid asks him what's his favorite thing about Earth. And he doesn't answer the question. And you think they're going to go back to that later, and they don't. Don't you think that was kind of weird? Yeah. Maybe he did answer it, and I just didn't catch it. But
no, he didn't answer it because the video cuts out. Right before he does, he turns and smiles like he's going to say something, and then it cuts out.
Yeah. So Superman was my favorite thing in it. I know he wasn't in it a whole lot, but I'm a huge Superman fan.
I'm a huge Superman fan too, but for some reason, he was still kind of off to me in this. Even I don't know what it was.
Maybe it was just coming back from the dead.
No, even the fight scene and all that kind of stuff. He just seemed kind of. I mean, don't get me wrong; it was actually kind of a kick-ass fight scene. When he got in there, the whole other parts of the fight scene with the rest of the Justice League was a hot mess, hot CGI mess. So,
well, yeah, and I loved how the Justice League needed him. They knew this all along. Like, soon as Superman got in the fight, it was kind of like, oh, this is over.
Yeah, we're gonna sit back, we're gonna have a beer.
Yeah, we're just holding him over for Superman, which is what it's supposed to be. And God, it's nice to see Superman just hitting something big, and that's what he's for.
There's a great animated Superman where he's fighting Darkseid, and he goes, "I want to thank you." He goes, "I live in a world of cardboard. I can't do anything." He goes, "Because of you, I can cut loose for once." And he goes,
Yeah,
"And I can use my full power."
that's at
And
the
he,
that was the season finale of Justice League Unlimited.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
that was
he just beats the crap out of Darkseid.
that's good stuff.
Yeah.
That was good stuff. So in the beginning of the movie, there's a great opening Batman scene, which totally reminds you of the Burton Batman. It's on a rooftop. He's going after
Just some criminal.
some criminal, and he uses them as bait to snare
Or
in
a
one of the
parademon.
parademons. And it's just, oh man, it totally reminds you of the 89 thing, and it's such a well done. Yeah, it's super CG, but I don't care. It's got Batman flipping around buildings and stuff. It's like that stuff you just didn't have not seen.
Yeah.
In all the Batman movies, you have not seen it. They've been way too grounded. They've haven't had him swinging between buildings and stuff. Now the only complaint my son had throughout this whole movie is like, he's all, "Where is Robin? Where is Robin? Where is Robin?" I'm like, I know there's like no reference to him or anything. I mean, I wish there would be. Well, even if he's dead, talk about him a little bit. Yeah,
Well, at least one of them is dead. I don't think,
the Robin is dead. I don't know what they're
the
going to go along with that. I think that he's just Nightwing out there somewhere, and I'm wondering if the live action TV show is going to tie into this universe or not. They haven't said yes or no either way.
Probably not, because they don't like tying into their TV universe and their movie universes.
Yeah. So, well, do you think the Teen Titans would be tied into the CW universe, or do you think it's going to be their own thing?
Oh, well, I think Berlanti's supposed to be involved some way in the Teen Titan show, isn't he?
Is
No,
he?
I think it's produced. I don't think he has any writing in it. I can't remember offhand. I might be wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a short movie. It's got quick introduction scenes with every character. They're all pretty solid introduction scenes. You've seen again, so much of the trailer they've shown, but then again, a lot of the stuff in the trailer is not in there. If you go back and watch a couple of those early trailers, man, that's all on the cutting room floor. Ben Affleck's performance as Batman, a little uneven in the Bruce Wayne side. You could tell they shot a couple of scenes like a year apart because he looks really different.
Yeah, he looks fatter.
On the plane scene, he looks like really just cut and thin, and then the reshoots, he looks a little different. It's not that bad though. I like Ben Affleck as Batman. It's hard to watch him and not see the guy who groped the girl in the video, though. That I know, and I know that's what Warner Brothers thinks, and that's why they're gonna probably replace him. And what's the rumor?
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Is it Gyllenhaal or Gyllenhaal?
It's some weird pronunciation. He said it once on Conan.
Donnie Darko is going to be Batman.
Yes. Well, they want him to be. Matt Reeves wants him to be.
No. So are they going to de-age him, or are they going to go back in the past on this? Because Ben Affleck's Batman has been Batman for 20 years. They finally said it in this movie.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
And the DC universe starting here now makes sense because they can go back. Well, I mean, they could actually probably go and have Jake be the Batman and still have Ben Affleck in the Justice League movies if they want.
Yeah.
Because that would be 20 years ago. And that's when he was fighting what Alfred said, which was
wind up penguins,
which pretty much I would just adapt the animated series. I mean, that's the best thing you can do. That would
bring in Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, all those guys, and just let them have at it with the scripts and the movies.
But we got Matt Reeves. I don't know. I don't know about that. It's gonna be weird.
My idea was actually pretty, I know you didn't like it, but I was saying Andy Serkis, since he's all
that's terrible.
Roided out now for some reason, and you could do Dark Knight Returns and then go right into Batman Begins, or not Batman Beyond. Excuse me, not Batman Begins.
No, I need to see Batman before I see Batman Beyond. And I still fully haven't I haven't felt like I've seen a full, I want to see a Batman trilogy. I still kind of want to see Batman on TV. I have never seen Batman as this action guy fighting ninjas all the time and bad guys. I want to see, I see Batman as kind of like a shadow, like just doing detective work and
Oh yeah.
scaring criminals and stuff. And then, if there's a fight, you know, it's a quick fight because he anticipates it. The Joker is not somebody he dukes it out with all the time. It's somebody he has to outthink, and that was the cool part about Batman. I know it doesn't play well in a movie, but it'd be really good in a series. Batman's made for TV. Trust me on that one. That'll happen someday. That will happen someday. Especially when you see the quality. We were just talking about this last podcast with Mr. Robot. Now, I enjoy movies still. I go to movies, but I find my enjoyment getting a little less, probably because I'm getting older. And also because there's stuff like Westworld and Mr. Robot out there.
Yeah.
Which is just so above and beyond anything put out in a movie theater or on TV. It makes it look small and kind of silly. It kind of ruins stuff. It's so good. And that's where the future is, I think. I mean, because comic books are serialized storytelling. That's what they're made for. I don't know if they're made for movies. I think they might have run their course.
I don't think it's run its course. There's still big, corner plot. There's those big like stories that have been cemented throughout comic book history that can be told as movies that don't lend themselves to the serial.
I disagree. Like what movie? Okay, so like Kingdom Come, that couldn't be done as a movie.
No, well, Kingdom Come, that's
So what movies are great for is I think you should adopt them both, because what movies are great for is your big final battle, your climax, or Avengers versus X-Men or something, some big spectacle you want to do. But for everyday, like adapting everyday comics, like adapting, I don't know, Amazing Spider-Man 175 to 200 or something, that's better serialized. They're smaller stories, and you can't put enough of that in a movie. You can't build up the characters, and that's something a movie will never be able to do. And you can't relate unless you've read comics for years and years and years, how attached you become to a character because you've been reading it since you were 12.
I've got an idea. So what you do is you do a TV show, a TV series, right, of a serialized comic. And what you do is the big climax after, say a year or something like that, ends with a movie that goes out into the movie theater.
Star Trek did that. The original series, then it graduated to movies. That worked because you felt like you had 3 years of connecting with those characters. Now you can just go ahead and do movies, and you don't have to like do any more characterization.
Well, not only that, you could still use your villains and your heroes. You can build them up within the TV series and then just do a big movie. That way you can put a lot more money into the budget and have your payoff be a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Maybe that might be a future.
Well, considering I just read that they're gonna, this cannot be true. Lord of the Rings costing $1 billion to produce. That's obscene. That's freaking obscene.
I can see that. Yeah,
that's obscene. I'm sorry, it'd be rad to watch and everything, but that's obscene. Sorry. But back to Justice League. There were some downsides. The biggest one to me was Steppenwolf and Superman's lip. That was just too much, man. You could tell I thought they would do a better job than they did, but I don't want to get down on the people who worked on it. They just didn't have enough time.
No, they didn't. I mean, like I said before, it needed more, and you even said it. It needed more time, and it needed more time to go through the CGI process. The CGI looked very video gamey. It's not going to age well. I can tell you that right now. No. Even in 2 years from now, you're going to notice a difference in it, and it's going to be bad. unless they go back in and touch it up like they did with Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Love, where they lightened
Yeah,
it.
and they might do that. Why not? I mean, you color touched, like you said, but they just color touched. I don't think they touched up any special effects. But they no, they don't hold up to today's standards at all.
No.
And a lot of you don't even know if you're watching a real person at times, and I don't think you are. I think it's just fully animated.
Steppenwolf was not. I know what they did. They motion captured his face, but it looked like a motion captured face that was done kind of bad because it kept having uncanny valley portions for me here and there, and I just wasn't invested in the character. And that, he was like, okay, so he's a bad guy. Yeah.
And I can understand you cutting out Darkseid, but like show him in some form or another.
Yeah. Have a shadow cast across Jupiter as it passes by.
Or him on a screen, or him talking to a hologram or something for like a second. I mean, all you got was a brief mention of them, and they need to get the mother boxes, and they got to put the mother boxes back together. And it was confusing because when he landed, he was talking to the mother box. He was calling Steppenwolf was calling it mother, and Logan was like, wait a minute, was the Amazon Queen his mom? Like, is that
I didn't understand that part either. Yeah, because I thought he was calling Hippolyta his mother at first, and I'm like, wait a minute, and it was very confusing. It would have just been better off. You know who they should have brought in as the villains, tell you the truth, which would have been awesome. It would have cost a hell of a lot more money. Granny Goodness and the Furies.
Yeah, or even with Steppenwolf, like make multiple villains. That would have been good. And you could, especially with the Jack Kirby stuff going on, you could really have played that off. A little bit of ripping off of Marvel, but Jack Kirby has just as much DC influence in a certain era than he does Marvel influence, and I would play on that big time.
The new gods, for God's sake. I mean, go with it.
They even say new gods in it. So you know, they mention it in the beginning. You get a Green Lantern.
Yeah,
you get a Green Lantern in the beginning. You actually see the Green Lantern ring. A Green Lantern perishes, and the ring flies away. You also get to see Zeus. Looked like it was Zeus that was there fighting, and so it was the gods, the Atlanteans,
the Amazons,
and the tribes of men.
Yes, the tribes.
All fighting, and that was cool. That whole thing was cool, and you see what parademons are, and they're just basically men who are turned into parademons. That part was great. You got to see his ship. Then you never go back to it. Or you see the inside of a ship once, but there's no you have no idea where the hell you are when it comes to Steppenwolf. He just kind of pops in, steals the mother box, and leaves. They needed to build him up a little bit, but it almost was a movie of just assembling a team, and Steppenwolf was just a mild nuisance,
Yeah.
And then he decided to base himself, in an abandoned Russian town. And then the only people they end up saving that we see anyway are just this Russian family, just these two kids
and a building.
But we don't see any people in the building. Yeah. So again, the whole, what the hell where am I in this movie? We don't know. We're flying around so much. It's utterly confusing, and it's really inconsistent directing wise. Does it take away from the enjoyment? No, because it plays like a cartoon. Yeah. And if you're going in expecting serious cinema, there's better superhero movies. Thor is clearly a better movie. Wonder Woman's a better movie. But as far as DC movies are concerned, this is the second best one, I think.
Yeah,
I even think it's better than Man of Steel, which I kind of like. I kind of like Man of Steel. I don't love it.
Yeah, way better than Man of Steel. I mean, Man of Steel is near the bottom for me.
Yeah, Man of Steel is better than Superman versus Batman for sure. Even that director's cut that everybody loves. But as far as where they're going to go from here, I think it's still in question. I think Warner Brothers is going to be very sensitive to these reviews. It has to do gangbusters this weekend. I mean, it has to beat estimates. I don't know if it's going to do that. The theater I was in was not full. You know, it was
Yeah,
enthusiastic, but not full.
it was kind of funny because when I went, they had the IMAX showing, they had a real 3D, whatever showing, and then they also had the regular digital showing, which I was in. The regular digital showing, when I bought my ticket at 4:30 for a 6 o'clock show, had 250 seats left.
Dang.
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
And
I had my pick of seats too.
yeah, I had almost an entire row to myself. There was one other guy in my row. So, and I was not in the front.
No, no. So yeah, I don't know, man. What was your favorite part of the movie, Dennis?
Oh, my favorite part of the movie. You know, I have to say my favorite part of the movie was Flash running through the Batcave.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah,
That was pretty funny.
it was just kind of this weird kid-like thing that, I thought, that, and also I think when they're talking about hope, about Superman bringing hope to the world kind of thing,
Yep.
when Batman was talking about that, or Bruce Wayne. So yeah, and finally kind of getting it as to what they're supposed to be doing as heroes and inspiring people, not just
Well, yeah,
saving people.
especially when Batman called out Wonder Woman for hiding for 100 years.
Yeah.
You know,
Where were
which I'm
you?
glad they
Yeah.
brought that up because that was ridiculous. You
Yeah.
know, so she got a broken heart and she didn't want to go out and put herself out there. Plus, she had seen World War One, so it was more than just Steve Trevor. It was World War One that did it to her. And then she probably saw World War II. Is like, I don't want anything to do with men, but I can't go back to the island. So I don't know. They'll probably get more into that in the second Wonder Woman movie. So I'm glad they really explained that. I loved the Superman coming back stuff. I loved all that. That was just cool, with Lois Lane and Martha. That was all played really well. I also love just the interior of. I love seeing an established Batman with a Batcave that works, and like he's on his like fifth Batmobile and stuff. It's like, finally, we're into that. I kind of wish they would have done more Easter eggs in the background. Batman used to have all his trophies.
Yeah, like the big
Cool
gigantic penny.
Yeah, like a trophy room just to help
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing a little bit of Atlantis was fun. That was fun. It was just right. Too much of that, I don't know. Yeah, and there wasn't as much Aquaman in it as I thought there would be. He was in it. Him and Cyborg were in it the least. Flash was in it more than I thought. Less. I thought I was gonna hate Flash. I just was set to hate Flash, and I didn't. I actually thought he did a pretty good job. I thought he was funny. He runs a little funny at the end. That little ending where he's
doing that kind of almost skipping kind of running. Yeah,
that was weird, but maybe I don't know. That was part of what he was doing there. Or whatever.
I think supposed to be he was happy. He was happy, is what it was.
Yeah. Just happy to have friends. He's happy to have friends. Yeah. I don't know where they're going to go from here, though, because again, I enjoyed the movie, but I'm sure the internet's going to pile on like they do. And I think the future is in question for the Justice League unless you go out and support this movie. Definitely, I recommend you see it. Maybe you don't want to see it at night. Maybe go see it during the day. Save yourself a few bucks. But it's definitely worth it. I mean, seeing the Justice League on screen is cool. It was very cool. It was way cooler than I thought it would be.
It was fun, and it didn't. There's a couple parts in there that dragged, but only for like a minute or so, and then it got over it really quickly and just kept going.
Yeah, like this movie differentiated itself from like more than any, even Wonder Woman, from the Marvel universe. Like they showed you what the DC universe could be, and and what the DC universe is a little bit corny, okay, but way higher stakes. This is gods fighting each other. Gods and aliens. You know how Marvel's creeping into the galactic universe? Like DC's there. Like they're there. There are, we've got a hero who can fly around in space, and we've got a whole Green Lantern Corps out there. which done right could be so much fun, could be like amazing. But you got to get the right person to do that. They got to find,
James Gunn.
their own James Gunn. They
Yeah.
get, without finding James Gunn, you know what I mean? Without copying that, they need to find, they need to make, because Green Lantern could be their Star Wars, but better, or maybe more like their Star Trek.
If they could do it, if they could swing it, and if he would be willing to do it, I would say Duncan Jones.
Duncan Jones. I don't know, man. Did you like Warcraft?
I've liked all his other stuff. I never saw Warcraft actually because I just was
Yeah.
never into the game.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I like his cerebral stuff, but I don't know if he's up for like he's not. No, I don't think he's right because he's not fun. He's good. He's really freaking good, but it's like that would be like having Stanley Kubrick direct a Green Lantern.
No, because I mean, Green Lantern at its heart is a sci-fi story.
It is,
And
but
he
it's not.
does
It's a
sci-fi.
fun sci-fi story. He does sci-fi, but he does like Outlander and The First Alien. That's the vein he's in. He's in like very serious sci-fi. Not like, I don't know. Luc Besson would be good for a Green Lantern.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Fun sci-fi. Something like that.
And I want to change. Actually, my favorite scene in the movie, I was just thinking about it now, was Wonder Woman saving those people.
That was fun. That was cool. That was
actually
badass.
Yeah, especially when she tosses the bomb, and the guy finally he picks up the gun. He's like, "Oh, sorry, but this is going to be the hard way now." And she goes in and just is deflecting those bullets. And I was like, "Okay, that's badass." They actually show Wonder Woman with her powers for a change.
And it was Roose Bolton, by the way, shooting her from Game of Thrones. Yeah, everybody got to show their powers and their amped up powers. Again, where Marvel has always been a little grounded, and is actually through Thor and through Guardians, they've been kind of upping the powers of people lately so they can fight Thanos. They don't need to do that with the DC universe. They're there. The one thing I liked about Cyborg, and I wish they would have done this earlier, is at the very end of the movie, he finally has this cyborg costume. Like it's a mess.
The armor. Yeah.
Whatever's going on. He looks better with his hoodie on. Like that whole scene when he's talking to his dad with the hoodie on in the room. That was a great scene where he's like, "Listen, I don't know what's happened to me, Dad. Are you going to hide me up here? Like, look what I can do now because I couldn't do this yesterday." And he flies. Like that whole thing was rad, and it looked really good. The minute he takes his hoodie off, it looks like a mess. But at the very end of the movie, he's got like the legit Teen Titans cyborg.
Yep.
Which I'm glad he was in this movie, but then I'm not, because I want him to be in the Teen Titans, which is my favorite DC team. And I'd love to see a Teen Titans movie like done right, or we're getting a TV show. If it's Greg Berlanti.
Well, no, okay. I just also read too, since Beast Boy is in, the Teen Titans show, guess what else is going to be in the Teen Titans show? Or at least a mention of it anyway.
What?
Doom Patrol.
Oh, dude, you got to do Doom Patrol. I love Doom Patrol.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because remember, Beast Boy, that's where he was introduced, was in Doom Patrol.
Yep.
So
Doom Patrol is a sick story if they do the Grant Morrison stuff, which is just, it's like X-Men, except Professor X was kind of a psycho.
Yep.
and an abuser of children. Oh my God, which was just great. Doom Patrol is amazing. Okay, just run out and go buy Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol run if you haven't read it. I reread that often, and the art is insane, and it's just great. So I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm going to run out and see this movie again in the theaters, but I probably get it. I'll probably get it on Blu-ray. We're probably going to get a big extended version, which would be cool. That's good. Yeah. I think you should always get that in the home version. I don't think you should ever get the same. You should get your theatrical version, but they should always give you a little something extra, especially if you shot it. If you shot it, give us more. It worked for Lord of the Rings, and the Harry Potter extended versions. And Christ, we finally are going to get what the full on Superman TV version, or is that out? I think that's out there already, isn't it?
I don't know. I haven't heard any announcement or anything like that. I
So
don't know.
Donner's Superman, that when it
Yeah.
was on, I'm pretty sure it's out there already, or it's going to be out there. Donner's Superman, when it aired on television, used to air on 2 nights. It used to be in 2 parts, and they made like a 4-hour version, with
Yeah.
commercials that threw everything in, which was the best version of the movie. It shows the Zod getting put into the prison with that whole sparkly stormtrooper guard, in the beginning and stuff like that. That stuff, that's what, when you buy the home copy, you should get more stuff. Don't just give us what you showed in the theater.
Yep.
I've always been a proponent of that. I hope we get more. I want to see more of this. I like these characters. I like them all. I mean, I like some more than others, but
And let's talk the end credit scenes.
okay, let's get there because I loved them.
I did too. I dug the greatest race, of course.
Yep.
And that was between Flash and Superman. So we did have the, I love that Flash is directionally challenged. We got that a couple times in the movie. There's a, family heading east that's having problems. You got to go. Okay. And he starts running. He's like, I really hope this way is east. And then later on with Superman, he goes, okay, which coast do you want to run to? And he goes, oh, well, I'm going to the Pacific Ocean. I've never seen that before. Let's go west. And he turns this way, and Superman's like, no, it's the other way over here.
The other way. And they do their little race, and it pauses on it, and it's cool. And then after it cuts to black, you hear like 2 sonic booms, which was pretty cool. But then we get to the last one, which, oh man, I was never so happy to see Jesse Eisenberg's Lex, but I was actually happy. I was like, oh, because I knew exactly, like the minute they cut to it, they've got a shadowy figure on a boat on the French Riviera, and he's got a couple of.
Well, first we start in the prison where.
Yeah, which is a ripoff of Killing Joke, by the way, where they go in and there's a bald guy in there, and it's not Lex. Then we cut to the French Riviera, and there's a little shadow, and there's a couple of samurai swords, katanas, and they got some things going off the back, and I'm like, holy shit!
Yeah, that's what I said too.
Oh, Deathstroke, and we got freaking Deathstroke, and what's that? Okay, it's Flash Thompson.
Joe Montel, I can never pronounce his last name.
Flash Thompson from Spider-Man. He was also in True Blood.
Yes.
Actually, this is the guy I wanted to play Superman, but I will take him as Slade Wilson. He had the gray hair, took off the mask. It I saw one video saying it looked cartoony. I'm all, hell no, that costume looked badass. He looked badass.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's cartoony because it's based on a freaking comic book. Okay. Yep. So it's supposed to look cartoony.
Having Lex saying, it's time we start a league of our own.
Yeah. And then my wife turns around and goes, what's their league called? I'm all, Injustice League. She just laughs. I'm all, that's DC. It's like, it's Saturn Girl. It's the elongated man. This is DC.
Matter Eater Lad.
Granny goodness. Boy. Yeah. Come on. This is DC. What's different about Marvel and DC? They have silly freaking names for superheroes. Okay. But
by the way, I'm glad they're doing Elongated Man on the Flash TV show because he's freaking funny. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I don't watch Flash anymore. I jumped out. It got too silly for me. But they also have the coolest names. Like the Doom Patrol is the single coolest name of a team ever. Ever. There is no better. You will never.
New Gods. Also a great name.
Doom Patrol is the best name for a team book ever. Period.
Well, Legion of Doom. Come on.
Yeah, the Doom Patrol is just so cool. I know, so retro freaking cool, man. Like that's a good band name, Doom Patrol. I don't know, but yeah, they talked about building the Hall of Justice. Yeah, I could not believe I walked out of this movie. I was like checking myself, make sure I was okay if I didn't have a fever. I'm like, I like this movie. I'm not, there was no way I was going to like this movie. There's just no way.
We hit the Mandela effect.
Maybe it was CERN. Maybe somebody turned on CERN and we have the Justice League effect. And somewhere in the string theory, there's a Gary who hates Justice League. I don't know. Yeah, but it also helped that my kid was so excited when he was like, and he doesn't usually get like, he's like, that was a pretty good movie. He goes to every superhero movie, so he's kind of jaded at this point. So for him to like this one, just go like thumbs up. He's all, Dad, that was awesome. I was like, oh, right on, man. That's what you want. So you won there, Warner Brothers. You won over the 12-year-old who really gives a crap what we think. Okay, we are not your target audience. We should, according to the world, we shouldn't be watching this stuff.
Yeah,
but we do anyway. Enjoy the hell out of it. Yeah. But there it is. There, I liked Justice League.
Yeah, I did too.
And if you didn't like it, that's okay. I totally understand why you didn't like it. There is a lot of flaws in that movie. I think I'm being very understanding because it was just the first team. I've been waiting to see this. I've actually, as a Marvel fan, I've been waiting to see the Justice League longer. Because I never thought I'd see the Avengers movie. I just never thought I would see it. But I've always wanted to see a Justice League movie. And again, always a Marvel fan, but Superman was the first, that was our generation's gateway superhero movie.
Yep.
And Superman that's one character that works on film as in movies. The big spectacle, that's that he is perfect for movies. Other characters aren't, so there. And then I gotta work. I'm not gonna watch The Punisher tonight. I'm gonna wait.
Oh, I'm downloading it tomorrow and taking it on the plane with me.
That's right. You're going to Vancouver. Okay, so final. Ooh, I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on Justice League, Dennis.
Go and see it. Have fun. Like Gary said, see it in Embargo Matinee. It's worth that at least. And keep an open mind. It's not going to be the greatest movie you ever saw. No, it's not that. It does have its flaws, but you'll have fun with it. As long as you don't nitpick it to death.
Yeah, there's certain movies you nitpick and certain ones you don't.
Yeah.
Okay. And why do we pick certain movies to nitpick and others not? Why do we decide to take it easy? I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe because I have great sympathy for the creators of this movie. I have great sympathy for Zack Snyder, what he's gone through, what the studio went through to get this out. Also, what it is it's a promise. It's a promise of like, there is better things to come. These are really good characters. And now that they've got Zack Snyder behind them, dude, give Patty Jenkins the reins, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, she did a really good job on the Wonder Woman. Like, maybe give her a shot at Justice League too. Let's see what she's got. I think she could do it. She was great with Wonder Woman. So, it got bogged down with a weird ending too, but that was definitely Zack Snyder's writing and not her. I want to see different people taking a take, but this is definitely a promising start. I hope WB doesn't pull a WB and back out of it now, because I think you got something here. I really do. So our next podcast it's going to be Monday, The Gifted. I think it's going to be me and Melissa doing The Gifted because everybody else is traveling. Then right after that, it's The Runaways.
I'm actually here on Monday.
Yeah, but you'll be jet lagged and stuff. Melissa and I are down for The Gifted. And then Tuesday we have The Runaways. Then Wednesday we have Mr. Robot. And I don't know what's after that. We're going to do a Punisher in between there. So yeah, so you can find all of our videos and podcasts at nerdrotic.com. And of course you can find us here at Nerdrotic channel. Please subscribe. We appreciate your subscription. All of our links will be in the description. Dennis has a Twitter. It's at DuffForce. I have a Twitter. It's at Nerdrotics. Visit, share, tell us what you think, love or hate. Dennis, take us out.
Ring that bell right up here. Ding, ding, ding. And don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, America.
May the small folks sing songs of your greatness. Good night, everybody. Go see Justice League.
Good night.
Don't believe Rotten Tomatoes.